Yo, what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome back to the Six Rings Kane Show. Danny Gillette and Vish here, joining us live from the comfort of our own beautiful homes, our humble abodes. What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing?
Doing well, man.
Can't complain. Can't complain.
Good, man. Hey, we might have some guests, we might not, but we're gonna roll five reasons sports style tonight. Um, not a lot to cover, but some nuggets here and there. And if I, by the way, Vish and Danny, I finally got the name of the guy, the Rhode Island guy. Unbelievable. I'm like reading it right now. Anyways, yeah, I mean some cool things to cover today. We'll cover a little bit of the coaching staff. We'll update you guys on that a little bit. We'll talk. We got a mystery box as Vish has decided to spend a little
Yeah.
cash, a little green, and get some Dyme Life gear. So we definitely want to open it up to see what kind of Canes gear we got in there. And then, of course, before anything, speaking of Canes gear, don't forget, guys, to go onto the website. We'll post it up right now in the chat. Go get your 16 shots of Cuban coffee and 2 hours of sleep shirt. Only available here on the Five Reasons Sports Network merchandise site. We'll make sure we'll post that now. I think we'll go ahead and put that up for you guys. But make sure you go cop it, man. They have it here, short sleeve in black and orange. They have a long sleeve in black. It's a nice, comfortable shirt, man. They don't shrink really. They the only thing is that you might be rocking a little bit of a darker orange, but who the hell cares, right? Uh,
So I have it in black and in orange. I've
yeah,
two of those.
right.
I can. Yeah, they're good shirts.
So, Fernie, I see you on the chat, brother. Go get yourself a 16 shots of Cuban coffee shirt. There it is, where it is. In collaboration, by the way, with Parks and Rec. You can check them out on Twitter and on Instagram at Parks and Rec with a W. So, real cool shirts. What else did we cover? Oh, we're going to cover a little bit of the transfer portal and players. The fourth quarter program, which is off to a pretty awesome start, and we'll kind of go from there. So it's a nice little show, and of course we'll cover a little bit of the depth chart going into the spring football because I think that's going to be important. A lot of people don't realize how or how deep or lack thereof we
It's
are.
gonna be limited.
Yeah, it's going to be a limited depth chart, but we'll go into it a little bit, just talk a little numbers because the spring football actually does start in about 3 weeks, right? March, what is it, March 7th? March 7th. Yep. So
Crazy, huh? Can't believe it.
unbelievable. 3 weeks away. So pretty excited about that. Before we get going, though, we definitely want to thank one of our sponsors. Let's talk. It's Prize Picks, prizepicks.com, baby. The official daily fantasy app of it's the official daily fantasy app of Five Reasons Sports Network. Make sure you're using the code 5 when you subscribe, when you log in and when you sign up. Use the code 5. What we'll do, what Prize Picks will do, they'll match your initial deposit up to $100. So make sure you use the code 5. It's FIVE. So spell it out. Code 5 when you sign up. You don't even have to spend it all at once. You can play NHL, NBA, college basketball. So definitely you can kind of mix and match players. You can do the over under on player points, rebounds, individual categories. It's pretty cool, man. You can even pair players from different teams and different sports. It's really fun to play. As I mentioned, you pick 2 to 5 players, then you play the over under on individual categories. And then it all depends on how much you want to win. It's based off of how many players you pick. So go to prizepicks.com, sign up today using the code 5. Make sure you go to prizepicks.com. Let's get right into it, baby. Couple of
Well, we should acknowledge our regulars, and Gary has some input on
Is he here already? Oh, there he is.
potential T-shirts for DJ. So
Corn Huskers, corn on the cob, popcorn, corned beef hash, and Cuban cob. Unbelievable.
all
Gary,
things Nebraska.
Yep, Gary always bringing it strong, baby. Appreciate
We
the
need to
love.
get you on the show, Gary, and I must say, your dedication to trying to get the spicy nuggets at Chick-fil-A, that is all something we should strive for in daily life, to have that same dedication as you do in
Yeah,
anything we do.
He tweeted
So,
it again today, right? He said, "Better be spicy."
Yeah, the mystery box, which I am being legitimate. I don't know what's in this, so we're gonna all find out together. I'm assuming it's gonna be okay for YouTube content, but
I'm sure.
But
I listen. If it's not,
make sure it's the right package, Bish.
You need to question yourself.
yeah, I double checked it was Dyme Life and not my other mail because we don't want to get into that. But
Oh man. Let's talk a little bit about the coaching staff real quick. I know everybody's got to. No, I lied. Nobody's getting tired of hearing about the coaching staff. That's not true. people still want to hear because there's a I got a retweet, but it was from Vish. Gary says on the spicy chicken nuggets. I know I got to retweet you too, Gary. We'll get your
Yeah,
your
we'll
retweets up.
start a movement here.
Real quick again. So yeah, the coaching staff. There's been a couple of updates. Nothing too crazy yet, as we're still actually waiting to hear who is going to kind of fill those last couple of spots. Whether it's a linebacker coach, a wide receiver coach, whether it's Vish. We can hear Vish typing 1,000 words a minute there. 1,000. It's unbelievable.
All right, I muted.
By the way, I've never seen anybody type that or hear anybody type as fast as Vish does. It's unbelievable. It's. I mean, if UM needed a spot to hire someone who could type that fast, I think.
I type with a purpose.
Yeah, you definitely do. You definitely do. Anyways, again, we keep digressing, but it's fun. We're having fun tonight here. Jamil Adai was made official. I know. I believe that Coach Steele and Coach Gattis had their press conferences after our show. I can't even remember anymore because we've kind of had an idea for a while now. We've had an idea that it was Jamil Adai as well. He was finally made official, as you can see. Even in the official tweet, he's already wearing Canes gear. That's not a crop. They didn't crop that in. He's actually wearing Canes gear already. So you know he's been here for a minute, doing his thing, recruiting, coaching these guys up. And right now, excuse me, what they're coaching up is that fourth quarter program, man. And before we get to that fourth quarter program, because it's awesome, it's exciting just to hear about it. Some big names. One specific big name that did what looks like it's going to be official very soon. Well, by by the school itself, but we kind of know is a legend down here, high school legend down here in Miami. Former Miami Hurricane. Well, you're never a former Miami Hurricane, right? So a Miami Hurricane played here in the 80s and early 90s as well. Roland Smith, who is the head coach at Central, is now going to be. Looks like he's going to be joining the program here in kind of like an analyst recruiting role, which is absolutely huge. Huge. People don't understand how big it is for a guy like Roland Smith to come and join this program. The amount of relationships and rapport that he has with all the coaches in South Florida, and I'm talking about Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, and all throughout Florida, right? Like, listen, he's been the head coach at Central for 9 years and won 6 state titles. I mean, he's got players like Wesley Basaint, who obviously is with us now. He's coached guys like Davin Cook, James Cook. I guess we can name Terence Lewis. Another guy that's here now is Seymour, Big Baby Seymour. The list goes on and on and on. I know I'm missing a whole bunch of great players that played at Central. Excuse me, geez, but the list goes on and on. So we're excited to have him here because his relationships with the coaches again in South Florida, and that's huge, right? And Mario always hits on how important it is to build those relationships. Yeah, of course, Hurricane Bain as well is another kid that we had on the show a few weeks ago. He's another kid that he's coached up. So it's so important for him to maintain and build those relationships with all those coaches down here in South Florida. Before we get into any of the other coaches, how do you guys feel, Vish? We'll start off with you with having a guy like Roland Smith join the program here in some sort of role.
It's exactly what you need to do to what we always talk about, dominate South Florida. So you mentioned like Central's obviously one of the biggest programs in the country, and so he's got those ties directly to a lot of elite recruits. But it's really, if you think about what recruiting is, it is a lot of the players and their parents feeling comfortable sending their kid to go, essentially leaving home for the first time and going and playing for an organization, and having that comfort figure there of someone that they trust that's in the community. Even if you didn't play at Central, Roland Smith. And him being there, just it gives them that feeling of, yeah, I can trust this person. I can go play there. And that's how, when you start building, you mentioned the relationships, like South Florida South Florida high school football is very interconnected. It's all about relationships. And we've had coaches here in the past that have not invested in that and think they're just going to show up with a U on their jacket and everyone's going to come here. That's not how it works. And so you're building those roots in the community, which is frankly the way we compete. We get the local kids to stay home. When Fernando talking about state of Miami, right? We're trying to get back to that. These are the steps you have to make. And this is like the best of the best you could pull in terms of local high school football. So this is a slam dunk.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a better person, DJ. How do you feel about Roland Smith?
I think it's a great hire when you look at the players he's developed. You mentioned, Dalvin Cook, Devonta Freeman, 6 state titles, 96-18 record. He has it all in terms of a resume. And like you guys just kind of alluded to, it's important to build relationships in recruiting. It's not enough to just recruit a couple of 5 stars for one class and call it a day. It's about building a pipeline and building connections within that community or within that area so you can go back to the well, especially if a certain high school program produces good results for you. You want to, plant that flag in the program in order to build that pipeline. It's a very smart hire. He knows high school football. He knows the University of Miami. And, it's just like we talked about, I think it was last week, the importance of having recruiting analysts within a program. This is a role that sounds similar to that, and I think it's a great move for the Hurricanes.
Well, and not only that, you bring up a great point there, Danny. It's not only about the guys that are there, right? The kids that are there playing right now, right? There may be a school that doesn't have a guy right now on that roster that is, that can come play at Miami, or a Power 5 guy. But you don't know if a year or two or three down the road, now they have one or two or three guys that are P5 guys, and you've built that relationship with them already. So now you're talking about 2 or 3 years down the road. That's how you build pipelines. That's how you build depth. That's how you win championships. So I think that that's important to have a guy like Roland Smith, another guy who is a local kid. Okay, who we're bringing back down here is it looks like, right. It's he's coaching at Rhode Island right now. Rhode Island's wide receiver coach Donovan Varner, who's a former Gulliver Raider, played at Gulliver, and I believe if I'm not mistaken, played at Duke with what's this guy's name? That white receiver that's really good, Connor something. Anyways,
If you're going white receiver at Duke, man, we're gonna be here all day.
yeah, never
Let's
mind.
not, let's not go that route.
But anyways, Donovan Varner, he's looks like he's gonna come into Miami as an offensive quality control role, and of course, I'm assuming he's gonna help with the passing game, the receivers, some recruiting, another strong hire, another guy that's gonna come in as an analyst here and really do some big things. I'm sure that a lot of these guys that are coming in, a lot of these younger guys, even though Roland Smith, I'll go back to Roland Smith really quick. Even though Roland Smith is a high school coach, a lot of these younger cats that are in this recruiting analyst positions are going to lean on a guy like Roland Smith because of his experience, because he's been around the Canes program and around high school football in South Florida for so long. It's only normal for that. Yes, Gary. He was at Northwestern before. He coached. I believe he coached Jacori Harris and them as well in Northwestern. Yeah, Roland Smith was at that place. Who's this Benedict Arnold guy that's leaving? So it's not Benedict Arnold, Gary. It's Hippolyte, however you want to call him. It looks like he's actually going to be leaving for UF. Yeah, he was an analyst down here. Is it a big loss? I don't know if a big loss is the word for it. It is what it is. He was good. He was a good guy. Did some good things here at Miami. So he is a loss per se. But you're bringing in guys like Roland Smith. Then I think you're fine. So 225 kind of writes. By the way, big shout out to 225 Hurricane. What's up with Big Baby? Has he been in the rotation? We'll talk about that a little bit later. Nashville Canes, what's going on, man? Let's go. Canes family, thanks for that. And then 225 says again, Mario is definitely keeping things tight. Yeah, he's still keeping things tight because we still don't know who those last 2 or 3 spots are going to go to, right? I mean, we've heard that it may be done. They're just going to announce it together. Who the hell knows? But that's something that we're going to have to wait and see. Eventually, it'll come out, and we'll hear from something about that soon.
So I will say on the I think the name's Varner, the Rhode Island wide receivers coach. Like that's actually, if you look again, everything we're doing is strategic. We know that it's likely that Gattis does receivers and offensive coordinator, but you could obviously use some help there because it's double dipping. So you bring in an analyst that's skilled at that position, and that analyst could also then see the next step. As we get, as the people leave the program, I could easily become the wide receivers coach. So we talked about this last week in terms of how everything's intentional and we're setting up succession plans, and this is just another example of that where it's nice to have a plan. I guess I'll say over what we've seen in the past, where I'm going to name myself defensive coordinator.
It's nice to have a good plan.
And while Varner was at URI, he recruited Miami, Dade County, and Broward, and he also recruited the Georgia area. So one of the big questions, who was the coach that left for Georgia? Right, I think it was a couple weeks ago. I'm drawing a blank.
BMAC.
Yeah. He recruited the Georgia area, and one of the big questions was who was going to be able to, recruit that area as well. That kind of fills a role for Miami there as well.
Well, it's Jamil Adai also.
True. But it's always good to have multiple guys that can recruit that area.
Definitely. Yeah, and even though he's at Rhode Island, so he's obviously not going after the same athlete that we would. It goes back to what DJ was talking about earlier. Getting familiar with the schools, you never know when the kid you want's there, and the fact that you were there before, they know you're not using them, right? You actually are invested in it, so that you never know when like the 4 or 5 star you really want shows up at a school that they're the first big time player out of that school that you're really going after, and having those relationships matters at that point because everyone else comes in with you, and you're like, no, this guy's been here for 3 years.
Yep. Real quick, definitely want to kind of switch over a little bit now after that, after the coaching information, which I guess ties it into, what's going on with recruiting, of course. A lot of people are still asking, well, what are we going to do at this position? What are we going to do at that position? We're noticing that, maybe we didn't really recruit as hard at the linebacker position as we thought we would, or, we missed on some guys. Yeah, sure. It could be all those things. But you got to remember, man, I mean, we're playing a completely different game now. The transfer portal is going to be huge now during spring and after spring. So, I think everybody needs to be patient because there's guys that maybe have not even hit the portal yet that Miami is looking at. There's obviously some guys that have already hit the portal recently, that Miami will be looking at. And I have a feeling that, there's a good possibility that, one or two of these guys land at Miami. The first one being Vanderbilt offensive lineman Tyler Steen. So he's expected to visit, Alabama, NC State, Penn State, Miami, some of those places in March. So look for him to make a decision sometime in March. But that's a huge plug and play guy, right there. Right, that's your starting right tackle if a guy like Tyler Steen joins this program. And then the other one is being the West Virginia cornerback who just announced his name is Darrell Porter. He's another kid that just announced that he's entering the transfer portal now. And it looks like he has he has a great relationship with Jamil Adai already. So it looks like they may be they may be talking. Who knows? But it looks like that's another opportunity for us to get. And it's 2 positions that need, right? Like it's offensive line and it's cornerback, which we have struggled with a lot recently.
The job that Jamil Adai did at West Virginia with the cornerbacks was very impressive. I remember reading his biography on one of the team websites, and I forget the numbers exactly, but they allowed a fairly amount of low passing yards. So that could definitely be a target for Miami, I think, because if Adai can get West Virginia to have a good secondary and a good defense, then he's definitely doing something right.
Well, they had the number 1, I believe it was the number 1 secondary in college football in 2018 or 2017, something like that. So pretty impressive.
And the 2 guys you mentioned, I think those are generally the positions we're probably looking at
and probably linebacker too. I would probably say linebacker.
Yeah, I think the thing with corner and offensive line is they're a little bit easier, I think, to plug in. That and receiver easier to plug in portal guys than maybe some of the other ones. Although, I think if there's a linebacker, we'd obviously go. We're not deep there at all, but you could easily see us like getting a corner and putting him on an island out there if he's good enough to cover that way, and he can kind of figure it out. And same thing. Well, offensive line is more of a unit, but we're just not at the depth there. So I think when you kind of look at where we're targeting, it is positions of need. So we're building in those multiple layers to be successful short and long term. So we know we need help right now at those positions. So you go to the portal for that, and then hopefully you can backfill the classes and have to do that less and less over time. But I mean, we were coming out of a previous staff that essentially abandoned recruiting altogether and was trying to go full portal. So if you think about where we are now, we're in significantly better shape.
Right. And obviously the addition, as we mentioned last week, the addition of Andrew Rogers coming in and working with Mike Rumpf now on that portal team, that portal staff, I guess you could say. I think that's going to be huge as well for evaluation of the guys that do come through the portal. So speaking of portal, obviously it's a huge topic of conversation because of our lack of depth at certain positions. And quite frankly, it's a lack of depth at a lot of positions right now heading into spring football. Okay, and there's many reasons why. Okay, it's injuries, it's guys moving on, graduating, whatever it is, but it also is lack of depth because we don't have enough guys. Okay, I mean, simply put, the recruiting hasn't been great at a lot of positions, right? So putting together this the spring team is going to be interesting, and one way to kind of know who's going to be at the top is with this fourth quarter program that Miami's running right now. And if you've heard Cristobal talk about it, if you've heard some of the other coaches, Coach Feld, all these guys talk about this fourth quarter program, this is, what's the word I get? This is kind of like the base for what everything else is going to be like. Going into spring football and going into obviously off-season workouts and then of course fall the season basically. So this is where they kind of separate the first teamers from the guys that might enter the transfer portal. Let's be honest with you. And we've noticed perfect. Fernie, thanks. Appreciate that. The foundation. There we go. The foundation for everything else. And Coach Cristobal has said that, right? He said that this is where, and if you don't participate in the fourth quarter program, you're going to be so behind. And that's what worries me a little bit with guys that we want to see play, be on the field. Don't get me wrong. I still think they'll be able to catch up because they're that talented that they'll be fine. But guys like Cam Kitchen, who obviously was a starting safety last year, Chase Smith, who we all thought, hey, that guy could play middle. He could play outside linebacker in this team. Every time that he was in there, he played well, and they needed to have him on the field more. So guys like that are going to be missing the spring. Okay, there's a couple other guys that are going to be missing spring as well, and there's some guys that haven't even gotten here yet. So my concern is, this fourth quarter program, which, by the way, big ups to guys like Will Mallory, Al Blades, and can't remember the third guy now that got the awards for the best first week of fourth quarter programs. For all of you that are talking trash about Al Blades, that all he does is play video games, one of the hardest working guys on this team. He's had some bad luck. Okay, y'all don't understand what COVID did to him. Okay, it wasn't, he had a heart condition because of COVID. Okay, because when he had COVID, he had the heart condition. That's why he didn't play. But he's one of the hardest working guys on this team, and it shows that if the fourth quarter program is bringing that out of him, I think I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do. Will Mallory is an interesting one. Vish, DJ, I want to kind of get your take on what he needs to show to not let Elijah Arroyo catch him, or is he already at a position now where, Cristobal loves blocking tight ends that can catch the football as well, and Elijah Arroyo does that. So what do you guys think about what's going on in the fourth quarter program with Mallory stepping up?
Well, first of all, just touching on Blades a little bit, I don't think people realize how impressive it is. Like, he had a heart condition. That's scary. Like, that to go from that, like, because they talk about how as an athlete, when you get injured, you favor your leg or whatever, and sometimes you get re-injured. It's hard to, like, mentally, even when it's healed, mentally push it. This is your heart. So for him to hit the top of the charts in these things is super impressive, and like that's frankly miraculous that he's able to push himself to that level without like having a mental break on that. In terms of and Gary filled in the blank for us.
Jafari
Also,
Harvey.
Gary, our basketball team did win, so you can relax
They
there.
did 70-63, big win.
Yes,
Nice.
another win, 3 in a row. So in terms of Mallory, reading up on what kind of Gattis's comments, and I think we're going to see a lot of 2 tight end in a lot of interesting stuff, and not 2 tight end and a fullback, and he wants to be more physical, but I'm not talking about slamming the ball in the line. I think we're going to probably see him try to flank out Mallory a lot and get some matchups out there. Because if you think about it, he's a huge mismatch. Like, how do you cover that? Because if you go 2 tight end and he's one of them, the other one's Arroyo, do you put a corner on him? Because then we can really pound you, right? Because as much as Arroyo's a much better, we think is going to be a much better blocking tight end, Mallory's still like he blocks a hell of a lot better than a wide receiver, but he can play as a wide receiver if you flank him out. So I expect us to play a lot of them together, and I think Mallory is gonna probably flank out a lot and not really have his hand down nearly as much, and I think that's gonna create a lot of mismatches because you can't really. If you put a linebacker on him, it's over. If you put a corner on him, you're undersized and we can run the ball really well. So I expect a lot of that and a lot of creativity out of Gattis. So I think they'll both play a ton. In terms of starter, it'll probably be Mallory. Just like if you know if he's doing the workouts and like excelling at that, he's already kind of the starter coming in. I don't see how we would lose his job there, but I think you're going to see them both play a ton.
Well, and DJ, I want you to kind of speak on this also because I heard Arroyo speak about it, talking about how excited he is to play in this offense because not only does Gattis like to run in the like to play run with a 12 technique, but he even mentioned a 13. And if you're running a 13 personnel, not even a 12 personnel, 13 personnel, I mean, now you got Arroyo, Mallory, and then Vish. You can flank one out. You got Jaleel Skinner probably, or Khalil Brantley, or even Dominique Mammarelli, who's apparently a hell of a blocker. Now you're talking about being able to do so many crazy things and mismatch all over the field, DJ, right? Like, how important is it for Mallory to continue to progress and get better? And is it how important is that for the play of the tight ends, and not only for Mallory but Arroyo and the guys behind them?
It is really important because when you look at a situation like that, 13 personnel, there are so many things that you can do with 13 personnel. You can try all sorts of formations, and when you talk about, the Miami offense wants to be a little bit more physical, that could lend itself to some, plays and all sorts of opportunities for, different players to step up. Now, with that, you kind of brought it up. Will Mallory, can he be the number one guy this year? And I think it's really important for him to, continue to progress over the course of this offseason because he is a very talented, tight end. He has speed, he has good hands, and he was obviously overshadowed, I think, a bit by Brevin Jordan. What was it, 2 years ago? I think I'm losing track of time here, but
It was 2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago, yeah. So I think it is important for him to get off on the right foot because, if nothing else, people have been so excited about the Mario era, and rightfully so, that I think they've forgotten about some of the current players on the roster and not just the transfer portal additions or the recruits and things like that. And when you talk about using, multiple tight ends or different personnel, it's going to be really important for him to continue to progress because he definitely has a spot in the offense for sure, but there's also a bunch of other players that should be able to produce as well. It's no longer a lack of depth.
Right. Absolutely. And by the way, Fernie, Larry Hodges, I don't know if you knew this already. I'm not sure, but Larry Hodges entered the transfer portal, so he's no longer at Miami.
Yeah, and there was a question about, actually, I'll put it up, from 225. Why? Because he's not going to play. I mean, let's be real. Like, he was he was a slash. He was sticking around in more when Richt was here, when we were using more fullback.
He's kind of small too, man. He's kind of small for a tight end, and Cristobal definitely likes a bigger, bulkier guy at tight end.
Yeah, and we've recruited the position well too. He would at best be fourth on the depth chart, and he's just not going to get the touches out there. The other thing is, I'm not sure if this is the case with Hodges, but we'll definitely see that fourth Kodo program is going to cause some people to transfer.
It is. Oh, no.
So it's just, I mean, I don't know if that's 100%. The case with Hodges. I think Hodges could be a workout beast and handle it, and still he's probably not going to play much. So it makes sense for him.
He's a talented guy. He's not like terribly, he's not a bad guy, but he's probably suited for a different type of offense.
Yeah, his skills just don't when we want to play two tight ends, what he brings to the table is not really fit that concept either.
Right. If you notice, they flanked him out a lot when they did play him. So
yeah, but we have guys that are better at flanking out than that. So it's just it's hard to see what formation he would really work well in with what we're trying to do. If we were using more fullback, he'd be much better in that role as kind of like an H-back.
Right.
Again, I know they ran a lot of power with that type of stuff at Michigan. I don't think we're not going to see that here.
No.
He's going to fit the personnel, and actually Hodges leaving is probably a pretty good indicator of that. Because if we were
But
running what Michigan ran last year, actually Hodges would fit that a lot better.
right, but but
So
they're not going to run that.
yeah,
You're
but
probably
we're
going to
not
see
going
more of
to.
an Alabama type defense. Excuse me, offense that they ran.
Yep.
Color commentary, just coming in to say hi. Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, so talking about depth and before we even get to the big surprise, which is the Dyme Life box that Vish has. He bought the 7 for $70
Yeah, it was a
deal
7
or
for
something.
70 mystery box, and I have not opened it, so we're gonna open it and see what I got for my $70 here.
Before we get to that, one more question from Anthony Manzano, if you want to put that up, guys. Is there a tight end? Let's see if you want to put it up there really quick for the question. Is there a tight end on the Hurricanes roster that you guys can see Mario, not Maria? I don't know who Maria is, but Mario moving to the H-back position. Again, I just don't know if we're going to run a lot of personnel with an H-back in the game. I don't see us doing a lot of that. It could, again, Gattis also mentioned that he's going to be very multiple. He's going to adjust to his personnel. And if there's a guy on this team that can play H-back, if there's a guy that, if they want to run that type of offense, if they want to run those type of plays, I'm sure that he'll be able to keep that kind of personnel in and put somebody on there that's going to be able to do that. I just don't know how much of that we're going to play with an H-back in. I don't know what your take is.
Yeah, and I think if you think about how many talented running backs we have, when we want to get multiple backs on the field, I don't think one of them is going to be an H back. Like, so if you look at the things you can when you want to get, you said multiple, which is I think a word we all use a lot. You want to do that. You want to get creative with we'll get another back in there. It's not going to be Hodges again, right? It's going to be let's get two of our tailbacks on the field and do something with that.
Right.
So I just it's hard for me to see a situation where he would fit there or where we'd want to use an H back, just because I'd rather have two of our tailbacks on the field and do something creative with that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We've got so much talent at tailback that's going to be tough to do that.
Can I also say that Big Ten football tends to lend itself more to the running game? So I don't think you're necessarily going to see that here now that Gattis is in the ACC. I mean, I feel like the ACC is a little bit more, not up-tempo, but there is a fair amount of passing, and there is a running game presence in the ACC. There's no doubt about that, but I feel like the Big Ten plays a little bit more of a physical brand of football, and thus Gattis adjusts to the personnel he had at Michigan. So I'll be interested to see how he kind of puts his stamp on Miami in terms of what he can do in this conference.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. And Anthony with another question in terms of his offensive philosophy. Is he going to come in as Andy Reid style of offense or Mike Shanahan style? I don't like to, maybe you guys can, want to comment on this also. I don't really like to put a label on, what type of offense, whose type of offense he's going to run. I just think he's going to run the right offense for us, right? The right offense that's going to fit our personnel. And this is why the fourth quarter program is so important. Spring football is so important because in spring football, what they're going to do is they're going to implement everything, right? Like they're going to just put together, what this whole entire team is going to be like. And I think that once they start to do that, Gattis and Steele and everybody will be able to understand what type of personnel they have to be able to run the offense that they need to run. And Terry brings up a good point as well. We need a 250-pound back for 3rd and 1. 250 pounds is really big, so I'm not going to go that far. But again, Vish, you mentioned this. We've got 6 guys on this team, and they're all 6 built pretty different, right? Cody Brown, Thad Franklin, even Henry Parrish is not a small guy. I mean, if you look at him in his workouts in the fourth quarter program, there's been some photos that I've seen. He's a big dude, man. And Don Chaney's a big dude if he could stay healthy as well. And I wouldn't put it past a guy like Jane Knight either. So there's so much opportunity there.
There's multiple things there with the short yardage running. One is the ability to fall forward, which not all running backs have. Like when you get hit, just seems like every running back we play has this ability, but that's probably more to do with us. But you get the contact and you can get an extra half yard or a yard. That matters big time in short yardage. The other thing is, again, we keep going back to this fourth quarter program, so we're tough enough to actually win up front. If you're asking your running back to run through a bunch of tackles to get a yard, you failed on the offensive line. Like, that is not the idea.
Absolutely.
So I do think we definitely need some size at running back. We can't, but I think we have that. You mentioned Chaney. He's got good power. Certainly Cody Brown, like he runs with power. It's really just you got to win up front though, because the thing with that, once you get that momentum going forward, that's where it comes in. But if you don't block it well, it doesn't matter how much power the running back has. He's going to get put on his ass, and so that's where our problem has been. We had the one run play that we always ran, and it didn't work. So hopefully we'll be a little bit more creative too there. And just once you get the momentum going forward, you generally can pick up the yard. So the short yardage running, I mean, that's where I would focus more is on the offensive line versus the ball carrier.
By the way, speaking of that box, Gary brings up a great point, man. You might want to post that. So, I mean, let's hope this box is amazing, or boy, will Vish look silly.
I will say.
He's nervous. Vish is nervous.
There's 7 things. This box is not big. I don't know if this is coming across on. I might have got like 7 napkins here. I'm not sure, but.
Oh man, it's gonna be.
It's definitely not a big box. So
also, Gary mentions you can get 128 Chick-fil-A nuggets for $70, guys. If you're buying Chick-fil-A, make sure you go get your one.
I feel like that was that actual math, because that's kind of a ripoff, right?
I mean,
especially if they're not spicy.
Yeah,
I mean, then you're really
50
screwed.
cents a nugget and they're not even spicy, man. Go to Wendy's.
It's a little more than 50 cents a nugget, right?
I will say one more point on
more than 50 cents a nugget. That's like a
that is a ripoff actually. One more point on Gattis, really quick. When you look at what he did with Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins, he put them in the best position to succeed possible. To be honest with you, I didn't really expect much from Michigan last year, and yet Cade McNamara put on a show. So I trust him to, evaluate the personnel, especially after spring ball, and lead this team and lead the offense in a good direction. I feel confident because it seems like he can adjust to his personnel well.
By the way, the chat is going south.
I know it's become Nugget chat. But I do agree 225 Popeyes. That's the place. That's got the best chicken anyway. But I do want to put this up because I think this is a good point. I don't know what we're going to see from Gas, but this is more of a personal preference. I'd like to be under center on some of this short yardage as well. Like, to me, snapping the ball 5-6 yards back to try and get it, then go 40 yard, you're opening yourself up to some stuff. Also, when you're under center, you bring the quarterback sneak into play, which forces them to keep honest interior, and you can kind of get to the off tackle better. So I'd certainly like to see some of that. I don't want to be under center on I don't want to go about 20 years and run.
But
I do think we need packages where we are under center, and because it forces them to adjust to that. In particular, like the ability to like sneak out of that,
right?
Because you can easily. A lot of teams do that. I mean, Tom Brady did this a lot,
How
right? How
big is Tyler Van Dyke? 6'4", 230.
Yeah, that's your 250-pound running back there. But you get them leaning forward, and then that keeps the tackles honest. They have to pinch a little bit. It gives you a little bit more gaps to run through. Shotgun does allow them to kind of read the play and react to it. So I
just
think
don't overcomplicate things. That's it. Simple as that.
Should be interesting. Speaking of running the football on 4th and 1, I think the biggest question marks is definitely still the offensive line going into spring football with guys like Jalen Rivers still recovering from his knee. Won't be participating in the spring either. So now you have multiple positions. I'm not sure if Ja'Kai Clark is. He might be. And then you've got some guys that transferred in. Logan Sagapolu, who I think is going to be a huge addition to this line, whether he plays center, whether he plays guard. There's a lot of options there. However, not too much depth going into spring, right? You got Zion, you've got whoever's going to play at the guard positions. There's a multitude of guys there. There's Cleveland Reed. There's Sagapolu. There's Isaiah Walker. Hopefully, if he has it all put together, right? Big Baby Seymour is another guy that'll be on that depth chart. But again, at the same time, this is an opportunity for them to step up, right, and make some noise and be productive and progress and develop. So it's a little bit, and Justice right now, Oluwusen or whatever his name is going to be the right tackle right now.
You can just call him Smith like you do everyone else. It's fine.
Way, bro. No way. I'm not calling him Smith. I don't do that stuff, man. It's Justin Oluwusen.
It's better than butchering his name. Just call him Smith. That's easy enough for you, right? Or maybe not.
But then I'd be calling him the wrong name.
What about J.O.? J.O. sounds cool.
Justice. Anyways, at least I try, bastards. Um, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what we do on the offensive line. Hopefully we can get another guy like Tyler Steen coming in, something like that, and competing in the spring or even in going into fall with summer workouts. So, how do you feel about this offensive line going into spring football? DJ, we'll start with you.
I'm not. I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm not too worried about it, but I would like to see a little bit more depth. I mean, obviously, spring is the time to kind of, if you're gonna have an injury, have an injury. But I'll be interested to see who steps up because even if, we're not seeing some players over the course of these spring practices, it will give us a good idea of the depth that we have. You mentioned a guy like Logan Sagapolu. I think it's going to be interesting to see how he does because everything I've watched on him in terms of film, he's very strong, he's very physical, and that's something that the Hurricanes need for sure. So I'll be interested to see who kind of steps up and stands out at the position because I do think there's potential there, but obviously they're not 100% healthy yet.
Yeah, good point. I think that's another good point by Fernie as well that we need to get at least 3 transfers. Yeah, I feel the same. I think 2 or 3 transfers. Definitely try our best to hold on to Josh Connerly because that kid might be a plug and play for first year starter, right? Like he can come in and play right away.
I will say I wouldn't be surprised if we have a surprising lineup. There's a different focus now, and some of these guys that we've kind of given up on were highly regarded out of high school. Like let's see how they get through the conditioning program, how they adjust to the new blocking schemes. We might have some guys
might
we
be
think,
surprised. Yeah,
we might be surprised, and I think one thing we've seen consistently from Mario, from Steele, from Gattis, there's going to be a focus on toughness. And that's always important in the offensive line. But I think the guys that'll step up and fight through it are probably going to play. And that might not be the same guys that were playing before because, well, just to put it mildly, I don't think that was a focus with the previous staff. Not exactly sure what they were focused on, but it wasn't that. So I think the reason it's called a fourth quarter program, and Jimmy Johnson talked about this a lot, was, if you feel tired in the fourth quarter, you lose. You start making mental mistakes. So you got to work hard enough in the off season and through practice and all where you're not physically tired, because if you let your physical tiredness, it'll affect your brain, and then you're going to play bad.
And where did Cristobal get this fourth quarter program from?
Alabama, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, they tend to win occasionally.
Okay. Yeah, every once in a while. So.
I think they're pretty good, right?
Yeah, they're all right. I think if we get to that level, we'll probably be okay. But so I think that when you talk about offensive line, it's that on steroids. Like it is, not literally.
Yeah.
So we're not accusing us of steroids. Just to be clear.
Don't get that started.
Let's not do that expose on ESPN next. That's like you can't play offensive line well if you're not tough.
Right.
So I think we'll see who. I think some of these. I think we might have some surprise guys step up and like, oh, he's in the 2 deep or starting now, and you'll probably have some guys transfer. To be honest,
some other guys that I didn't even mention, Ryan Rodriguez, right, the kid out of Columbus, and Chris Washington, who was another lanky offensive lineman, needed to gain some weight. So, you're probably going to see some transfers. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some transfers. To me, the most talented offensive lineman on this team is Isaiah Walker, and we haven't seen him play yet. And listen. Mental health is a serious thing, man. It's an important thing, and if he can get that, if he can, get everything right from a mental standpoint and a physical standpoint, I don't think there's a better offensive lineman on this team. And I know that's saying a lot, but I really think he's that talented. So I hope to see him on the field. I hope to see him practicing. Seems like he's getting there. So as long as he continues to do that, we'll be fine. Moving on to another position on the field that I think is going to be interesting because we had some guys leave this year. So we're going to try to figure out who our wide receiver one is going to be. Some people are saying it's going to be Keyshawn Smith. Some people might say it's Brinson, Jacoby George, Frank Ladson, who's coming in. Word on the street is Ladson is doing really well in workouts. He looks strong. He looks quick. He's back to full strength. He's not hurt anymore. Uh, we forget that he was a 5-star wide receiver coming out the year that he went to Clemson a couple years ago. So that's a huge get if he comes in and he can be productive. If he can do what if he can do what Rambo did, that's going to be absolutely amazing, right? Who for you guys? Who's your top 3 wide receivers right now? If you had to choose a starting X, Y, and a slot guy, who would it be? Vish, we'll start with you on this one.
I think you nailed it. I think it's Smith, Brinson, and George. I would go with Ladson. Interests me, but I really liked what I saw out of all 3 of those guys last year. And I think in particular Smith is just a weapon that I don't know. I mean, obviously we had Harley and Rambo in front, so there was limited opportunities there. But he's the one I'm most excited about. I think he's a matchup nightmare, and again, I think we're going to be more physical, which is going to get them more space. Like, you got to understand, we couldn't run the ball consistently last year, and we still had that good of a passing game. I think he's the one I'm most excited about. But yeah, I think all 3 of those guys. I am a little concerned about the overall depth there, in terms of experience, because there's not much. Even the guys I was talking about that we've seen in spots, and they're definitely excited about them. But the experience is definitely not there.
I think the position that you can afford not to have a lot of experience, because it's a very it's a skill position, right? So if you're a good wide receiver, I think that at wide receiver is probably the place that you can kind of say, okay, well, experience might not be huge, but then again, you got guys like Rambo and Harley who obviously were here.
Yeah, and I guess we've had an issue with drops in the past. And so maybe I'm a little PTSD on that. I think generally speaking, you're right. That is one of those positions that's much easier to acclimate to the next level. And these are not true freshmen. They have years under their belt. So you're probably right. I'm seeing D Wiggins and Mark Pope drop passes in my.
They're not here anymore. Get over
I know, but I still have the nightmares, man. I still have the nightmares. You can take them away. It's still in there. So yeah, you're probably right though. I think that that is a position that's easier to acclimate to.
DJ, who do you think are top 3 guys going into spring?
I was going to say the same as Vish. Yeah, the same as Vish, because, when you look at a guy like Smith, I believe he averaged 12.3 yards per catch last year. And Brinson, he is explosive when he gets the ball in his hands. He only had a little over 180 yards last year, obviously, as he was getting adjusted and getting playing time, but he did show flashes of what he could bring to the table. Same thing with George. I mean, I thought he played really well last year in what was kind of an up and down year at the beginning in the passing game. So, I mean, like you guys said, there's a lack of depth there, but I think the solid pieces that we do have should be able to really make an impact this year, especially if Tyler Van Dyke can play like he did last season. Because if we get that Tyler Van Dyke throughout the entirety of 2022, then I can see a lot of, big plays and records being broken and things like that.
Good point with TVD. I think that's the most important thing from all of this. I'm going to go a little bit of a different lineup. I still like Keyshawn Smith, but the other 2 I think are interesting, and one you can and one's interchangeables, right? So the one that's interchangeable to me is Burchard Smith and Restrepo. I love Burchard Smith's versatility, right? Like, he's a Swiss Army knife. So you can line him up at the slot, you can line him up and come in motion a lot. You can line him up in the backfield. You can do so many things. So for that reason, I don't know if he's like your starting slot guy. I think maybe Restrepo, right? So I'd go with Restrepo. I'd go Keyshawn Smith. And to me, the most talented wide receiver on this team for me is Jacoby George. I love Jacoby George. I love what he does. I love how smooth he is in and out of routes. He's got really good hands. He creates separation. He's not a small guy. I think he's about 6'1", if I'm not mistaken. And he's only going to get stronger and quicker now. I love those 3. That's not to say that a guy like Frank Ladson, again, Frank Ladson is big, strong, fast, 6'3", 190 pounds. That's a big dude. He's a 5-star guy. So could I see him kind of rotating with a guy like George or a guy like Keyshawn Smith? Absolutely. But right now, if you had to tell me who I liked what I saw last year, I love Keyshawn, Jacoby George, and give me Restrepo or I hate to put the or on it because I know Cristobal is not going to do it, or Burchard Smith, because I think that Burchard Smith is just so versatile that I think he's going to bring a lot.
So I don't think he's gonna put an or, but it'll be interesting to see how big they want the rotation to be. Some teams kind of just run their starters out there and maybe occasionally swap players in. Some do like a much heavier rotation. It'll be interesting to see kind of how we treat that. If there is a functional or if it's really like, okay, the starters are going to basically be on the field most of the time.
I will say too. Oh, my bad, Jess.
No.
I will say too that Miami has a lot of receivers that are fit for the modern game of football now, and what I mean by that is they're big play threats. They're tall. They can get down the field. They can make things happen after the catch. So I don't think that the cupboard is bare there necessarily either. So I'm kind of glad. We talk about all the bad things that Manny Diaz did while he was here or towards the end. He did at least get some playmakers at the wide receiver position for Miami, and I think there's something to be said for that, even if the end wasn't so pretty, to say the least.
Yeah, true story. Facts. And by the way, that's something. I'm not taking anything away from guys like Romello Brinson. I think he's another one. He made the best catch of the year last year for the Hurricanes, right, against that Mickey Mouse team. But still, he's very talented. Other guys that we haven't even spoken about, like Daz Worsham and Michael Redding, and those guys, they're going to get their opportunity. Could I see maybe one or two of them transferring? Absolutely. But they're going to get their opportunity. And that's the most important thing, that right now it's a clean slate. And Josh Gattis said this. It's a clean slate for everybody. Kevin Steele said it's a clean slate. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Well, since we really want to get to your box, I think we're gonna get to your box, Vish.
That could be other things, man. So keep it clean.
We
don't get flagged by YouTube.
Hey, let's see your box, Vish. Real quick, we'll go down the line real quick on a couple of other positions. Running backs. Who's your RB1 and RB2? Go, Danny. You're on mute. This is not a Zoom call, son.
Shut up, Tim, right? Oh, no, I'm just pulling a Jazz and saying your name wrong again. No, but I don't think I can make a determination on that necessarily. I have to study more, truthfully. Frankly, I've been studying the wide receivers, but I think with Gattis, you look how he was able to use the multiple back rotation. I think we could see not necessarily a solid running back one, but I could see them being interchangeable.
Oh, Jesus, Gary. Vish, who's your RB1 and RB2?
All right, I'll go with Knighton as one, and I'll throw a curveball in there and go Franklin as two.
Ooh, okay.
Wow, that's a super curve. Nice, I like that. Okay. Excuse me. I'm gonna go Knighton and as my RB1 just based off of last year. But can I see a guy like Don Chaney, if he's healthy, be RB1? Yes. And my sneak pick is Henry Parrish. He didn't come here to play second fiddle to anybody, so I can see him maybe being RB2 or even start. So those guys are interchangeable for me. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball. What's up, Canes fans? Oh, here we go. Big shout out by Chris Gons. What's up, Canes fans nation? Canes Nation, excuse me. Go Canes. Any shot at 5-star recruit Josh Connolly out of Seattle, Rainier Beach High? Yes. Yes.
So I think, Jazz, I'll ask you a question. So what do you think, you think we're favorites for him, or I know you follow recruiting a little bit more than
we are. The problem is he's still going to take other visits now in March. Okay, and the other visits are places that are close to home. He's going to go to Washington. He's going to go to USC. And I think he's going to go to Oregon, maybe? I know he's got 3 big visits coming up, and they're all on the West Coast. Obviously, Washington is home. Okay, so he's going to go to UW. He's going to go to USC, so it's going to be hard because we weren't his last visit. Right now, if he had to choose right now, I think he'd be a Miami guy. I think he'd commit to Miami. It's just going to be interesting to see what he does from here on out. He's going to make a decision next month, so it's going to be tough. But that's the kind of guy that, he comes in here and he's going to play right away. He's going to start from day one. He's that good. You got NFL prospects, NFL scouts looking at him already. That's how good Josh Connolly is. So that would be a complete game changer. And that's that on that. Defense, on the defensive side of the ball coming up. Give me your guys that are going to be starting on the defensive ends. Vish, we'll start on your end. Who do you think are going to be the guys coming out of spring?
I'll give you one. I'm not sure about the other end, but I think Jafari Harvey has
Yeah.
stepped up. He's he's winning the fourth quarter, right? So and he was all. I feel like there's so much potential in him. We just haven't fully seen it yet. So I think this staff is the type to unlock that. So I think he'll be a stud. Other side, I'm not sure, but I think Harvey's on one end.
DJ, who do you think?
Harvey's a lock. I would say maybe Antonio Moultrie, but I'll be interested to see who is opposite Harvey on the other side. Like Fish said, I think that position on the other side at least is wide open.
I like that. I like that. I'm going to go Harvey just based off of that fourth quarter program now, seeing him kind of step up on one side. But I think I like Chance Williams on the other side. I think he showed a lot last year on that side. You can go Elijah Roberts as well because every time he was on the field, he showed some flashes as well. So I'm gonna go Harvey and Chance Williams for sure. On the inside, I'll start on the inside. And by the way, Moultrie is actually going to play inside. So he's going to be more of a defensive tackle, but I'm still going to go LT, obviously, on one side. Leonard Taylor is a no-doubter. And I still like Jared Harrison Hunt. I think Harrison Hunt is going to be a stud. And mix in Moultrie in there as well with Lichtenstein. Lichtenstein's going to play both. I'm sure he's probably going to play outside and inside. He's very versatile in that way. But look, I like LT and Hunt. How about you, Danny? You're pulling another mute. That a boy.
There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. No, I have to agree with you there. I think in terms of solidity at the position, if that's a word, I think that's probably a very safe bet. I'm excited to see that position because we've heard so much about Leonard Taylor, and now I really want to see if he can, start in spring ball in terms of kind of building for the regular season. And there's a lot of interesting position battles, and I think, one of the players I'm really looking forward to watching is Taylor.
Nice. What about you, Vish?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer right now is Taylor and Harrison Hunt. I think Harrison Hunt's really underrated in terms of his playmaking ability, and then you put a monster like LT next to him, and it's just going to unlock it. Because they're going to have to, we just saw flashes of it last year, and they're going to have to double Leonard Taylor up the middle, which is going to open up a lot of stuff for the rest of the defensive line, in particular the guy next to him, and that's why I want the playmaker next to him. Harrison Hunt just makes big plays.
Yep, agreed. Jabari Ishmael, Fern. Yeah, I like Jabari Ishmael. I think that he could be a breakout guy. That's what I'm going to rate. I'm going to rank him as the breakout guy on the line. So it should be interesting to see. Linebacker position, your top three, your starting three, middle, your Mike, your Will, and your Sam. Who you got, Vish? This one's interesting. This one's got to be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, God. Portal player to be named later?
Yeah, so and someone mentioned that. Guys, are we looking for a starting linebacker in the portal? Possibly. Les actually. Good friend of the program. Yeah, I think that we are, but I'm talking about strictly from a spring perspective. I think we're still going to look for a starting linebacker in the portal. Possibly.
Well, I definitely would like to see Huff in there.
Chase Smith out of it because he's going to be missing for the spring, so we can't really talk about.
If we're just talking spring, that kind of limits things because I was thinking Chase Smith. I think James Williams also would be. I want him at linebacker just because it allows us to play our three of our best players on defense are technically safeties, but he's definitely capable of playing linebacker. So, and then I think we can see a lot more out of Huff too. So I'd like to see him in there.
Yeah, nice. DJ, I'm going to take this one really quick. I'm going to say for the spring, I'm going to say that they're going to experiment with James Williams at linebacker on the outside. Okay, but I'm still going to put Corey Flagg in the middle for the spring. First of all, we don't have a lot of depth anyways, so I'm still going to go with Corey Flagg in the middle. And it's going to be hard to get Keontre Smith out of there if they do play with three linebackers. I like Keontre Smith on the weak side. I believe it's a weak side. Not sure. Anyways, he's an outside linebacker. So I like those three. I like James Williams, Corey Flagg, and Keontre Smith with Tyreek Austin-Cave right on their heels. Who do you got, DJ?
I like that as well because I really do think that they need to add a portal addition or two. We talked.
Muted yourself somehow.
Oh my God, I don't know why I'm having trouble with this tonight. The one stream I have trouble with this. No, but I was thinking, you could see a mass exodus of players after spring ball, so I would grade that position as incomplete, just because I was looking at the depth chart earlier today, and I'm not a huge fan of what we have at linebacker right now. But this is a position where we kind of talked about it earlier in the show. It could look a lot different come the fall. So for now, I would honestly grade the linebacker position incomplete.
Yeah, there's a lot of bodies there that I'm not enthusiastic about. I think we could see some people step up and some transfers too.
The problem is some of these guys are really talented, man. We just had some crappy coaching in that position as well. Look, I love Deshaun Troutman. I think that when he gets on the field, he's a human missile. So he just plays like he runs through walls. So I think that he's going to be interesting to see develop. And Tyler Johnson as well, a guy that we really don't talk about. I think that's another guy that's going to come in here and possibly make some noises. Look, this is an opportunity for them to do it because of the lack of depth there right now. And Tyreek Austin Cave is another guy that when he played, just destroyed people. So, but it is the biggest question mark. So I totally get that. Real quick, secondary wise, I still think it's Avante and Cam Kitchens, but Cam Kitchens is not there right now. Right now. So I think it's Avante and Keyshawn Washington are going to be your two guys at safety in the spring. And then at each corner, you still got Tyreek Stevenson. And I'm going to go right now because of the way he's performing in the fourth quarter. I'm going to go Al Blades on the other side. How do you guys feel, Vish?
Yeah, I pretty much mirror yours, but I would swap in to Corey Couch there. I still think I still have. I think
have faith in him.
Yeah. I do.
All right, it's nice.
Well, apparently you don't, but I'm still. I think he should. So honestly, and this could be the wrong approach. If I've seen guys that have like flashed at times, like, hey, that kid looks really good, and that just didn't really click. I'm putting that in the doofuses that were here before, and not the player, at least for now. And I feel like with proper coaching, you can get that consistency. So. I feel Takori's in that boat. Like at times he looked like amazing, and then at other times you're like, man, he's getting burned left and right.
I think Takori is a slot guy all day. All day, Takori is a slot guy for me. If you ask me, I just think he's a very good slot guy. He struggled last year on the outside. He got beat a lot. He just got out physical. He was just too small for me, but he could gain some weight and get better. I just don't know. That's just my 2 cents. And I think Al Blades, when his freshman year, he showed a lot before he got hurt the following year. Vish, if you need some trash bags that fit.
So Gary is might be a legitimate crazy person. So if you look behind me, there's like a shredder on the floor there. And I had some old bags, so I stuck one that's bigger than the shredder on there. And I don't know how zoomed in you are, but Jesus, man.
Glad to see you're paying attention to the crucial content there, Gary. Makes us feel real good.
That's scary levels of now I gotta worry about
Oh, Gary.
That's out of control, man. That's out of control.
DJ, really quick before we get to Vish's box.
Cam Kitchens and
he's out for the spring.
Spring.
Yeah.
Spring, I don't really. Again, I'll grade that as incomplete because I think what we see in the spring right now is not what we're going to see in the fall. I'll be interested to see, like Vish, Takori Couch. I know that's not a popular answer by your standards, Jazz, but you're going to need to have guys that step up during the spring, and I think he could be one of them.
Fair enough. And now to the best part of the show.
Vish's box.
We saved it for the end. Vish's box. Right, brought to you by Dyme Life Apparel.
Apparently, we don't have a sponsorship, but we will take your money if you come. So I got the coolest looking knife I could find.
Look at this guy.
I don't know what this is for. I have like a kitchen knife set, but we're gonna go with this, and hopefully it actually cuts.
I wonder if the box has bigger trash bags in it. That would be a win right there.
That would be hilarious if it was trash bags.
You have trash bags.
But yeah. All right, this knife is cutting through this.
By the way, this guy's been waiting about 5 days to open this.
Actually, I shouldn't fault them because they did priority mail it, but it just got here yesterday. So.
Oh, Gary.
All right.
We're not gonna put that up, Gary. Did they write you a sweet little love letter and everything?
No, it's a receipt that they printed that's like not even legible. So that's one thing. All right.
That's so you can't return anything.
Oh, good, masks. Just when they ban all the mask mandates, so that's good. But that's all right. I can always use more of that.
Yeah, why not?
All right, we got a hat in here.
It's for fashion. Let me see this hat.
What is this? Oh, greatest team ever.
Oh wow, that's cute.
All right, that's pretty cool, man.
That's a nice hat. That's a nice hat.
That's a cool hat, and obviously I wear hats a lot, so that is definitely made it worth it by itself.
That actually is pretty cool. I admit. $70 hat.
All right, now we got into how I got 7 items because.
Oh jeez, what did they do?
There's a little items. I don't think they counted each of these. There's like a bunch of these in here, so I think they just threw a bunch in there.
I thought that was a condom for a sec. I was gonna be like, okay, this is a weird mystery box.
There's other items in here, so they didn't count these as each. I think they counted as one because there's like a bunch of these.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't that bad. I don't even know what this is. What is this?
Oh, that looks like a gator, like one of those gators.
Okay, so all the COVID stuff. Good stuff.
Gator.
Then we got a shirt here.
Let's see this shirt.
This is
all right.
Yeah,
that's a cool shirt.
Good. This is good. It's the right orange, so we're in favor of that.
Yeah, exactly. Did they have that size for men or no?
So actually, I do need to. I put my size in, and this is definitely not my size. So that's going to be interesting. Someone's getting a gift.
All right. What size is it?
It's a small, and my ass ain't fitting into that.
Nope. Oh, there are tank tops.
Tank tops.
It shows big muscles of yours.
Good. I live in DC. It's cold as shit, but that's all right. And then another one of these.
That's still a nice tank top, though. By the way,
yeah.
Don't get it twisted.
And
another shirt. Look at you.
Another shirt.
Shirts,
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
Right.
Another tank.
Another tank, baby. Another muscle shirt.
Yeah. So all
like
right.
it.
I guess I gotta start wearing those. All right. That was the last one. So
wear one of those on the street next week.
Not bad.
Wear one of those on the street.
I mean, what do you think? What am I,
one
jock? I'm going to show up shirtless? We're not doing that.
You should wear one of those. I just go like this the whole time. That's it. Just show them off.
I will say the hat was, well, it's not $70 worth, but the hat itself was kind of worth it. Plus 3 shirts, and
all right.
I can wear the masks. People still wear masks up here, so.
I still wear one every once in a while, too. So you're good.
All right, yeah, we're good. And at least, I am at least pleased they did not count these, because there's 4 of them in here as like 4 items, because I would have been pissed.
You should mail us one of those, right? At least.
Oh, sure. Sure. I got 4 of them, so.
We gotta send them our mailing address, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely do that. I will mail you one if you send me your address.
Oh man! Hopefully next week we'll have we'll be able to round out this coaching staff. By the way, I will be at I don't know if I'll be at opening night, but I'll be this weekend at Marklight Stadium as the Canes kick off their baseball season as well. Not that anybody cares about it except me.
Hey man, hey!
But
4-game set.
Some interesting shakeups in the rotation.
Palmquist is starting. Big things are happening.
Is now a starter, which is interesting. First team. He's a first team All-American, preseason All-American. So, pretty excited to see what Palmquist does. Max Romero is another big guy. Transfer from Vanderbilt. He's our starting catcher now. So, anyways, I know. I'm getting excited about baseball. Yeah. Nobody else cares.
I think last year when we did the preview, we got 8 people to watch.
Oh, that's exciting.
So maybe not.
Maybe we won't do one this year.
Yeah, I mean, not the big crowd, but we will give you a weekly 5 minutes on this show on the baseball team.
5 minutes.
Yeah, whatever happened with baseball.
I'll be covering the games. I just want to go to the games. So, anyways, appreciate the love. Hey, I go to baseball games and yell at Watch ESPN.
All right, 3 of us. There we go.
There we go, Gary. Fernie Tapia. Actually, Fernie was a roommate of mine and a former teammate at Barry University. I will say we're joking. Our baseball team actually does have a following. So yeah, they really do. Actually, they really do. So, shout out to all the baseball guys. Baseball is life, baby. Love you guys. We'll be on next Wednesday again. Make sure you subscribe to the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel, the YouTube network as well. Always shout out to all my people on the YouTube network, Team Flow and Canes Insight and all those guys over there. We thank you for watching. Make sure you click subscribe, like us, and of course, we appreciate everything, man. We really do. Danny and Vish, you guys were awesome tonight. And for Tap, I hope to see you at the games this weekend. Give me a shout out, give me a holler, and we'll catch a Marklight shake together. Oh my God, that sounds so sweet. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Canes.
Go Canes.